Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. I hope you guys all had a wonderful holiday. I've kind of been taking it easy for the last month. I didn't realize that the Jenga block gingerbread house would be my last one. Things got hectic with work and family and holidays. So kind of left it on a good note for that. Sending prayers out to California now with the wildfires. It's really sad that's going on down there. I'm up in Canada, and sending blessings to everybody down there to be safe. Up here in Canada, I know a few people wanted to send me a surprise package prior to the holidays, weeks before, and up right until I think just before New Year's. Our postal service was down for I think 6-7 weeks, and I just wanted to reach out and thank Gina Hunter from Michigan and to Karen Hadley from Roseville, California. I hope you're doing good. Thank you for the Christmas cards. I didn't do any Christmas cards for the fact about our postal service, and I know a lot of you reached out and your postal service in the US weren't sending parcels to Canada because of our strike. Everything's back to normal now. I just received the Christmas cards that were postmarked on the 6th of December, and I just received them the other day. Thank you. So I posted on Facebook what you guys wanted to see, and you guys are asking about my Jenga block animals. I'm gonna try to do definitely 2, but I'm going to try to do 3, and it's zoo animals, and you guys were liking these certain ones. So we're going to start off today with a giraffe, and we'll move on to whatever one after the giraffe. I don't know which one we'll do, but I know a lot of you guys were asking for it. I've seen a couple years ago, a couple Jenga block giraffe. I don't know how much they use. I'm just going to go whim on my own style and see how it goes. I did figure out some kind of design, so I hope it turns out good. To keep your blocks nice and straight, I call it L-shape, carpenter, square ruler you're going to need. I use one from Dollar Tree. I use Wellbond as my preference of glue, but I do suggest using any wood glue. No hot glue. It doesn't seal the blocks properly, and plus it doesn't, it won't last forever. Now Terry has sent me a bottle of wood glue, which I'm still saving. Terry, sorry I haven't used it yet. This is from Dollar Tree in Canada. We don't get the wood glue in our Dollar Tree. And I know a lot of you can't find Wellbond, so you guys have used Gorilla Glue, and I've heard that it works well. I'm going to do a video one of these days with all the glues and do a test run with them. Now the Wellbond I buy is at Rona. I usually buy the bigger bottles to refill, because if you get the bigger bottles, you get better bang for your dollar. And I just use, this is why it looks so bad. I just keep refilling this small bottle. It's easier to handle. Gonna use the tumbling tower from Dollar Tree. I know I've had a lot of questions on my page. How come I still have the plain ones? I'm not sure why DT has the two-tone ones right now. I don't know why. Why I have some is during the pandemic, when I couldn't find any Jenga blocks. My family were all on the search. I had friends out of town looking for them, and then they just kept buying me blocks and cases of blocks. This is why I still have the neutral tone of blocks. I'm hoping Dollar Tree will come back to the plain ones. If you are going to use the two-tone, and I know a lot of people are concerned about the two-tone blocks, my suggestion is split the blocks. Keep the dark ones for darker builds, say builds that you're going to do black or darker colors, and keep the neutrals for a lighter tone. Because if you try to use the brown ones, the dark brown ones, and you try to paint them white, it's going to take more coats of paint to make it more white, because it'll kind of be see-through, if that makes sense. So we're going to start off with that. And for anybody that's new on my channel, I'm the Crafty Shopper, and my name's Debbie. I started this a while ago, and I pre-glue sections of my builds, so we're not sitting here forever and falling asleep on YouTube with me. and I started a little concept calling flat and stacked. And I'm going to show you what I mean by flat and stacked before we start with the giraffe. When I say stacked, it means when we glue a section together, a row of blocks. Stacked means gluing the wider part of the block together, just like that. That means stacked. When I say flat, it means we just glue them on the thinner part and we glue them just like that. So for example, if I say 5 flat, it's 5 blocks and we glue it on the sides stacked the way I showed you. Now we're going to start with the neck and work our way up, and we're going to glue that section together. Now I've already did the rows, but we're going to glue it up, and I want to keep that section separate from the body at the first part of this video. So we're going to start with the bottom row of the neck, and we're going to do stacked, and we're going to do 7 blocks. The next row, we're going to glue that right on top, is 6 stacked, and you're going to center it as you go up. Next row is 5 stacked. Now we have 4 stacked, and we're going to need 7 rows of these. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And we're just going to put them all nicely right in the center. And you're going to glue them all like that. Oops. Just like that. Next row we're going to do, now we're going to start, this is the start of the head, and we're going to do 9 stacked. I'm just going to, just a little bit off the lip of the top row here, just right here. The next row is 6. I'm going to put it right there. And then we're going to do 5. Now this section right here is 66 blocks. Now there is something I'm going to try, but I am going to try it later. And there is a couple more blocks, and I will adjust the count later. I haven't decided if I want to add those blocks or something else. I don't know, the antlers, I guess I'm not even want to say the antlers, on top of the giraffe's heads between its ears. There's something I want to try that I have to look for in my stash, but for now we're just going to glue it like that and not add the other blocks. There is another way we could try without those, but I want to try something. So we're going to glue this section together, and then we're going to move on to the body. All right, now we're going to move on to the bottom, the body, and work our way up the bottom and work our way up on the body. So we're going to start with 18 stacked. We are going to do 20 stacked. We're just going to kind of put that in the center for now, just over top of it. The next row is 21 stacked. I'm just going to keep this one level here, so it's going up. Another 21 stacked. And one more row, we're going to do 18 stacked. And I'm going to put it right on the edge there. I'm just going to move it up just a little bit. And then we're just going to add 1, and we're going to put it flat. So you just want a little edge like that. And you're just going to glue that section on. So this is going to be the back butt area, and this is going to be the front chest coming out that way. I'm going to glue that on now. All right, so we have the body all glued together. You can see in the blocks sometimes do that. You have a little area that's open, but I am going to use spackle, but we're not there yet. So the little piece that's flat on the back, where I'm going to call the butt area, I like to use a buffing block. You can get these in the Dollar Tree section in the automotive part. Try to get out any glue marks that sometimes when the glue seeps out, it leaves a little shiny, and when you paint over it, it doesn't paint very well. So it's always good just to buff it out. Now, I've already done this, and I know I just missed a spot there, but it also keeps it nice and smooth as well. Now we're gonna add legs to this. I'm gonna move this one up here for 1 second. And we are going to use 3 blocks stacked, 3 blocks stacked, 3 blocks stacked, and another row of 3 blocks stacked. So that's 4 rows of 3 stacked. That's 12. And we're gonna need 4 legs, just like this. So this is a total of 96. Now I haven't filed these, buffed them down yet in the little corners. How we're going to attach it. So we're going to kind of do it separate when we attach it. It's just a lot easier because then you'll have a big giraffe trying to move it around. You don't want nothing to fall off or break or anything like that. I'm going to turn it right upside down. So remember the flat one, the one flat, flip it over. And we are going to glue the legs, and I'm not going to do them right on the end. You got to make sure your edges are nice and straight on each side. And then you're going to just glue them upside down, and I'm going to leave them overnight. Now, can you see sometimes how the one's tipped over here? What I would do is making sure that this is nice and level underneath. And sometimes the blocks are just off a little bit. So I'm going to switch it around. That's still going that way. So I'm going to flip it around that way. Well, I think that's this one too. And before you put any glue, I would play with them just to make sure which leg you want in a certain spot. Now it's looking about right. I want to put my head over the camera. And I'm just leaving a little, I can actually move them over just a little bit. Not right on the end of the build. You want a little bit hanging out each side. And then I would glue those right off, or right on. But I am gonna buff these down to make sure that I don't have any glue on them at all. And then I'm gonna leave that for overnight. Now I do want to touch base back on the head and the neck part right here. Now I do want to add a couple more blocks. So sometimes I do change up or tell you remove a row on any of my builds throughout the video. This part here, I do want to add a couple more blocks. Now I did say there was another 3 if you don't have something, what we're going to get to later, but I'm going to add 2 flat to the head. I'm just going to leave it off centered, just a little bit from the back, not right on the end, just a little bit off. I'm going to add 1 more. I just find it will give it more of a depth of a head. I found it was just a little bit too small for me. So, and usually the giraffes have a longer, I guess, nose and face in the front. So we're just going to add 1 block right there and the 2 here. So that'll bring it to 69 blocks. I'm going to glue those right on, and I'm also, after it's dry, I am going to buff any area that needs to be, any little glue that's come through, and I'm going to buff that part. All right, now that I left it, I think it looks much better that way. Before we add to the top of the head, and that's where I said there might be an extra couple blocks we're going to do, but we're going to wait on that for the moment. I know I'm not going to do them, but I'm going to show you the alternative. Now, I have, and I desperately need a new one. These are just from Dollar Tree. They're just nail file. There's the buffer again, the exact same thing, and another sander. And I'm just going to go around the edges. You can do that on the legs before you glue them on. I'm still letting them dry. I went roughly over them. And I'm going to do the exact same for here and all the way around. And just make sure any glue that has seeped out that, that you get as well. All right, so I finished filing the head and I did around the body. Now you can skip this step and you can glue them together. I will tell you though, what we're gonna use for the top part, and I still don't know the names, the little things between the ears on the giraffe. I should have looked it up. Now, if you cannot find these are just the Dollar Tree angels. And I don't know if they're a seasonal. I mean, I think I saw them at Christmas, but I don't remember if they have them throughout the year. If you could find something similar, and we're just gonna pull off the wings, they're just paper wings, and I thought it would be on the inside. I'll turn the head up this way, because the ears will be on the outside, and I thought that would look really great, and I'm not gonna glue those on just yet. But if you can't find any of those wood little wings or angels, we can add 3 more blocks, and you could just add it this way. Now, I went to town a little bit too much on when I was filing here, but you could just put that little extra. I would minus this level off and just add the 3. That's really up to you. Or you could just add 2 blocks, play around with it before you start gluing it together if you can't find the angels. But I think these ones are gonna work well for the top part of it. I'll call them the horns. Now, Dollar Tree does sell spackle. This one is just from Rona. It's like kind of like that fake and bake stuff that they have. I like to do it on my blocks, and you don't have to. You can, like I said, skip that step with the spackle, but I like to put it on just because it fills the little holes, so when you paint it, it just has a nice smoother finish. The spackle does go on like kind of crusty, so once I let it dry, and it's usually when it's not pink anymore, I know it's dry. And then what I'll do is I'll just take a light little nail buffer, just a little sander like this, and I just buff off the little excess. And I usually do that outside because it can get a little bit dusty, and I don't want to dust up my area here. But just filling in those holes nicely. You don't have to do it everywhere, but I'm just going to do a little bit all over just like that, and just sand them with my little nail file before we start gluing it together. All right, now that I've finished the spackle and I have sanded it down a bit for the areas that needed it, there's 2 ways you could do it. If you want to start doing a base coat on it before you put it together, so it's just easier for you to move it around. Mine's a little bit lopsided, but we can fix that. Or you can glue it all in one piece. What I'm gonna do is glue it all in one piece, so then I'm just gonna keep it flat and then flip it over when I paint it. But I am just gonna start gluing it. So the flat one, if you remember, at the very back, like the butt, right on top. And I am just gonna put it, I'm gonna lie down and do this so you can see it better. You're not gonna get the whole image in, but it's just putting it just almost 1 full block in a bit, so it just looks like the chest is kind of puffed out just a little bit. And then once I glue that on top, I am just gonna place the little wooden angels right on there as well, and glue that at the same time. So I have it turned sideways just so that it fits in. If I put it the other way, it's a bit too tall. Now that I have it all done, glued on and everything like that, dust it off. There's 2 ways I guess you could paint it. I was trying to think probably the easier way to paint it. I'm gonna do like a warm beige as the base coat, and then I just think it's easier as opposed to doing the opposite. So if I did a beige coat and then kind of did like the pattern and like spots, or painting this all and then just doing the little line, I think it would just be easier with doing the bigger patches with the darker color. And the only reason why I say that is because when I did my cow, this is from a few years ago, it was fun just doing the spots like that all over, and I think that would be probably the easier way to do it than doing it all brown and then doing the thin line with the beige. So I'm gonna give it a coat of the beige first, and then I'll come back and then we'll start with the second part of the brown. Right, so I did a couple coats and I didn't make some little areas you can still see, but then we're gonna do the next step. And I do realize is wasting more paint doing the beige coat as opposed to the brown. Now I did start on the brown just to see how it worked out before I wanted to film this. And I'm just gonna turn it over. So my thought was, as I explained earlier, for me to do those lines, it would probably drive me crazy to do, and you would still have to go over the multiple lines. I prefer doing the dark brown. This is the one I got from DT. Doesn't say, oh, deep brown. And even with the brown, you had to go over it a couple coats, but I didn't go right to the end because it's not gonna be perfect. Fur on the Giraffe is not perfect. I do have some touch-up spots. Now, I've just kind of overlapped on certain areas, and I'm gonna do it all the way around. I'm gonna make the little spots a little bit smaller going down. And then I thought about changing the color just a little bit lighter. So maybe mixing both the colors just to make the brown just a little bit lighter going down before we're gonna do like just some black on the ends. I'm just gonna go up to the top of the head and around the sides and back. All right, guys, so I finally finished painting it. Now, let me tell you, it took quite a while. I did it all the way around on both sides, underneath, and I didn't do inside the legs. I just wrapped some of the little spots on the inside, except I missed a few spots here, so I will touch up on that. But I think it turned out, I'm gonna turn it sideways here, turned out pretty good. And I just laid it down when I did the painting. Now, suggesting I would have did bigger, to cut down the time, I would have used bigger spots on here. It would not take as long as it is. And because I used just the acrylic paint from Dollar Tree, which I find is watery, and I kept having to go over the spots again and again, I was just using maybe some, Michael's has pretty good, little bit more expensive, like maybe $1 more, but the paint, I find you have to do less coats with that paint. So that would be two suggestions that I would do. Now, the next thing is I'm just gonna look up some pictures of Giraffe. Oh, and I did also just paint the little hooves on here already. On the bottom, just some black all the way around. Now, to do the head, and I didn't want to continue with the spots until I have stuff on there. So I'm going to turn it this way. So I'm just going to take a narrow to a little wider. I'm going to paint these brown. I'm going to go around. Let me just put it on the side here and go down and narrow. And I'm just going to wrap it narrow right underneath its head. And I'm just going to use the same brown. All right, so I painted the head. I'm not a painter at all. I'm surprised these even look, the spots actually look good. I probably could have did better. And I think I just went a little bit too wide, but we're gonna put some nostrils. But before we do that, and I did that right around the back right here, but it's gonna be covered. I just wanted something just in case, I don't know why I painted it. It's really up to you. Now, I want to put fur along the back side, just behind the ocules. I think that's what it's called. I can't remember. I looked it up a while ago at the beginning when I did this, and I can't remember the name right now. But I want to put some fur going down his back. There's a couple options. I just have this roll of Fun Fur from Dollarama. I just cut it in a slice, just like that. And I did give it a haircut, so it was a little bit shorter. And I'm just gonna hot glue that right behind there, and I'm gonna put it all the way down. Now, I thought this matched a little bit better to this color. Dollar Tree does have Fun Fur like this, but I just found I wasn't a fan of this color. I think more so because of the brown. But you can totally use that depending on your brown that you use. They also have this plush yarn from Dollar Tree. It's really, really thin. But what you could do is take like a piece of foam paper, and you could just do a bunch of back and forth hot glue a bunch of this on just to have that furry look. Just going down the side, that's just another option you can do. So I'm just gonna get that piece of fur glued on. Got it glued on. I think it looks pretty good. Right on the top, just like that. Now the next thing I want to do is the tail, and just the one step down. I'm gonna take some Dollar Tree nautical rope. I cut already a piece. I'm not totally done yet. I cut just under 7 inches for the tail. And I just used the same brown that I painted the spots with. The color didn't go through right here, but that's okay. I'm just gonna retouch it up once I glue it on. And the bottom part of the tail, I haven't finished, so I'm gonna show you. You know these little elastics? I'm gonna use a black one because we wanna do the end of the tail black, so I'm just gonna use one of these tiny little elastics. I think I wanted a little bit longer part of the black, so I'm just gonna tie it a little bit higher up. I think I got all messed up here. I'm gonna tie it tight. Now you can use some fun fur. Maybe you want to use the same type of fur that you put on the back mane of the giraffe. There we go. So I'm gonna just tighten it up like that. Then what I'm gonna do is take some scissors and just kind of shape it down into a V. I think this might be a little bit, I think I put it up a little bit too much. And you just want to go along the edges, kind of like giving layers, if that even makes sense. And you're just going to want to make it a lot thinner with the layers to just make it more pointy, I guess, at the end. You could also use, I thought about also putting some black fur on it, wrapping it around, but I thought, oh, I'll just keep this. I remember making it on the Jenga block cow, and I thought it turned out pretty well. I actually don't remember if I think I wrapped a little bit of fur on there, but I'm just going to do this one black once I have it shaped properly. And then I'm just going to paint just like I did. So I did a good coat of, just one coat of paint. You have to saturate it, and I let it dry for a day, but a little bit shorter. And I'm going to do that same with the black right on the bottom part of the tail. And then we're just going to hot glue it right to the back, right on top there. And then I'm just going to touch up those little spots that you can see that the paint didn't saturate. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is eyes. Now, really depends on what you want to do. I had these little eyes here. They came in a different pack. I have a container. They were from Temu, and they come in different colors. I can't remember because I've had them for a while. You can get all different kinds of colors, even cat eyes. I think there was like 20 or 30, and they were a couple dollars. But I'm gonna use these ones, which are, I like the bigger pupil on it. And if you don't have these, you don't have to do that too. You could use some glass vase filler gems if you just want to paint that black. You could use black buttons. It's really, you can paint them on if you're a painter. But I'm going to use these ones, and I am just going to put it right there, placement right there, and same thing with the other side. And then we're going to go on to the ears. Now, I just took some flexible foam paper, and it just happens to be this color matches up with the paint I used. And I'm just looking for my little thing here, and it's kind of disappeared. Let's see. All right, so I found it. So you're gonna grab a piece of, I just hand drew a shape of an ear. Nothing perfect. I think it's just from top to bottom. It's around 2 inches. I'm just gonna match it up here to make sure. And I'm just gonna take a paintbrush. Like, instead of using a bunch of paint, I like to just, so you're gonna do this on the front and the back, and you're just gonna give it an edge on it all the way around. I'm just gonna try to keep it thin. And you're gonna do that on both sides. You can do a different color if you wanna do more of the skin tone ears, you could do that as well. And I'm not gonna do the bottom black, but when you're doing them as well, I would suggest doing the side of the foam along the edges. No, this one. And then I'm gonna do the back side too. But once you have this done, I'm just moving this around. I use pet pea pads to paint on and stuff like that. Saves my mat from getting stained. And then the next thing you're gonna do, you're gonna grab, I'm gonna use the same paint that I painted the base coat, and I'm just gonna do some flecks. I'm not a painter. Just gonna play around with inside of the ear, so to speak. I'm just gonna go like this. I think I've already put a little bit too much. I'm a messy crafter. Is anybody a messy crafter? Because I'm a messy crafter. And then I clean up after each craft and organize everything again, because sometimes I pull everything out. Then I am going to add some more black in. Now I'm gonna do it in the middle. I'm just gonna wing it like this. Just kind of like that, I think. So I'm gonna move that out of the way so it can dry. And then I'm gonna do the opposite side, just the, I think I put a little bit too much black on it. I'm just gonna grab my tweezers so I don't get it all over me, and I'm gonna put it over there. Now, just don't wanna get it on what I'm gonna show you. So here's a finished one. I'm gonna try to match it up. I use a little bit more narrow, so I'm gonna kind of add a little bit onto this one. And like I said, you do the back as well. Once that's done, you're gonna grab your glue gun. I'm gonna fold it over just a little bit on the corners. I'm just gonna hot glue this right down like that. Now in the center, I thought just a little bit more realistic. Gonna grab some fun fur. This is just a piece in my stash. You can cut it right at the ends. I don't want a lot, I just want a little piece of it. I'm just gonna cut this bottom here. Just so you have a little piece, I just think it's kind of funny. And just a little bit of hair that sticks out, I think would be super cute. 3D effect. I'm trying to anyways. Once I do that, I'm gonna pull this guy over here. I'm gonna glue it on an angle right there. I'm just gonna hot glue one on each side. So now that I have the ear placement and the eye, I'm gonna continue with smaller, I'm sure that's not what you wanted to hear, continue more with some of the smaller pattern along the face and just lapping over the areas that we didn't cover. All right, so I finished it off. I'm just gonna show you here. On the top part were the little horns are. I just speckled some little black lines on there just from a picture. In the front, I could have did it a little bit different. I'm not a good blender, but went down, just added some nostrils. I think it turned out really well. Now, I want to put a solid base on it. So we got these trays from Dollar Tree, and I already painted one. I just used some dark walnut stain, and this is what I have here. So what I'm gonna do is just not hot glue. I'm gonna use some Well Bond. I'm just gonna put it directly. You can change the angle on it. You could also flip it over and put it this way with the beads on the bottom. But I really liked how the beads gave it a little something on the bottom instead of being plain. So I did want to say a shout out to Franklin. Thank you. Your mom showed me a picture of the Christmas house you guys were doing, the gingerbread house, and you did a fantastic job. Keep up the good work. Let me get this glued on, and then I'll flip the camera around and show you what it looks like finished. The total amount of blocks was 264 in total that I used. All right, guys, so here the giraffe is finished, and I can zoom in on just a little bit here. It's hard to fit in the screen when you have to do horizontal with YouTube. I'd also decided to put the Jenga Blocks box beside it just so you can see how tall it really is. I think it turned out really well. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. I am going to do a 2 or 3 parter just because otherwise it's going to take me another week to do another animal. Let me know what other kind of animal you like to see. I may not do an animal for the next tutorial. I may do something else, but I will come back to doing some different animals in the future. Happy crafting. See you soon. Bye.